Could you briefly
Thank
just
you,
explain to us what this mindfulness thing is? Because it just sounds sort of quite nebulous, really, doesn't it?
It's a very trendy thing. It's that in the course that I had a go at, you were supposed to spend 15 minutes eating one bite of chocolate and to really appreciate every aspect of what you were doing. And this is supposed to increase your ability when under stress to step back from that stress and reassess things and get your feet back firmly on the ground. And it may or may not work for some adults, but these studies show absolutely conclusively that it does not work in schools.
Yes, I mean, the study found that most pupils were not interested in the technique, and they actually described it as pretty boring. So how on earth, what's the alternative basically to this? It could be, would you accept the premise of the argument that there is a mental health crisis? I know we use that word, we bandy it about like you wouldn't believe, but is there a crisis of mental health in our schools today?
No, I don't think particularly. I think certainly COVID made mental health worse. And it is important to pay attention to mental health in schools because some really serious problems can show themselves in early and allow you to get at them early. A school that has a really good mental health support side, someone you can go and talk to, teachers who know to send you in that direction, is something absolutely to look out for. I mean, any kid can have mental health problems. But this is an ordinary aspect of growing up. But we do need help with it. So I really like schools that are strong on this. But to call it a crisis, no, it's something that's really important. And no, we don't know how to deal better with it. We do. There are some people who claim to have found an answer. So far, none of them have panned out. We know how to do well. We know that good teacher attention, really good care from teachers who know and relate to the students can make a big difference.
So then overall, I think many of my viewers watching us in this conversation right now will be of the view that far too often we're wrapping kids up in cotton wool, protecting them from, online harms and speech and debate and all of these other things. And actually, there's a real concern that, kids in the likes of China, your competitors on the global marketplace and in other areas as well, let's not forget, they won't be doing that with their children. Do you actually have concerns that the next generation of kids are going to be wrapped up so much in cotton wool that going out into the real world will be absolutely terrifying? Of course you're going to have mental health problems if you haven't been allowed to go through, as you rightly describe, what is normal adolescence.
Yes, I entirely agree with you, and it's one of the big emerging things over the last 3 years is that the skill that employers most want from their young recruits is resilience, the ability to deal with a problem and be hurt by it and come out the other side. And it's really important that schools teach that, to have a level of support in doing that. I don't want kids to go through what I went through at school, where you hit these problems and you're on your own. But to have these problems and find a way through them and to learn that you can is really important.
It's about, I'm all for, giving kids techniques to actually overcome these issues and actually help them, get on and progress in life. But I do worry that we're forgetting the fundamentals of education, what education is there to do, which is to allow people to grow up, go out into society and make something of their lives. I feel like we're forgetting that these days and just allowing, well, in certain respects, actually, not allowing kids to be kids, because I think there is a real politicization of much of the activism that comes into our schools far too often. But the way in which we inoculate children almost to be ready for the big bad world, I feel like that is sorely missing from education today.
I think you're dead right, and we need to find a way to get it back. I mean, I think we've learned in the last 20 years that washing everything in disinfectant means that you're much more likely to get diseases because you never get the immunity. And the same sort of thing applies. You've got to put kids in a position where they can fall out of a tree and break their arm. You've got to be a bit of danger in the world. You've got to go through a hard time and learn that you can deal with it. If you come out, once you're out in the world and you haven't got those skills, you're at a huge disadvantage.
Can I ask you, a lot of my viewers care about the reintroduction of grammar schools because obviously there's a ban by Tony Blair. Do you actually think, Boris Johnson mentioned this, and obviously he's no longer going to be Prime Minister in the coming months, but if the Tory candidates, whoever that might be, that does take the top job and were introduced grammar schools, how would you feel about that?
I think the key is to introduce really good schools for children who cannot take academic work. To do what the Germans do and have technical high schools where kids like that can really find an education that suits them and is really fulfilling. And then I think for the rest of the kids, which is probably about 80%, those in the bottom half of that really enjoy being in a school which has the top half. They're inspired by, they can see they're drawn upwards by being educated with the really bright kids. So no, I'm not for grammar schools. I do the other end. I make really good schools for the kids who are not academic.